Hey there, everyone. It's Dr. Yam inside of Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group. And today we are doing what I call office hours. And so, office hours is a much more unstructured, open opportunity for members inside to ask their questions, anything having to do with small business, entrepreneurship, and of course, content creations. And what is it that's on top of mind for you guys, as well as just addressing some, basic questions. So no question is too small or too big. And if I'm unable to give you a concrete answer, I will put it on my follow-up list of things to do. I did get several questions offline, so I'm going to address some of that as well. Maybe even try to do a demo or two on some of those questions because they were a little bit more, I don't want to call them complex, but certainly want to make sure that there's a visual element to it. So we'll give some feedback with respect to that. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to connect with me personally, you've had an opportunity to do so. And I'm going to put a link here inside of the chat and on the you'll see it below. If you haven't scheduled your one-on-one with me where we get to just do a real personal connection, I love to hear about who you are, what you're doing, how content marketing is becoming a part of your routine. Not necessarily does it have to be daily, although that is ideal. It should be a part of your strategy. And how is that working out for you? Or do you need some help to make that happen? And there's no problem with asking for help. Some of us can do things all on our own. Maybe we just need a little nudge, a little push, maybe a little shove. I don't know. But it's important to understand that when you're running a business of any sort, whether you are local, and you are brick and mortar and you're providing a service, or you may be digital and you're providing a product, or maybe you're a hybrid of the two and you offer both, right, as a solution, then part of that is how are you making connections with your intended audience, and how are you doing that in a way that's going to meet them where they are, and that you're also being able to, again, provide a solution. We're all in business to do just that. It's not for self gratification. And if that is the motive for which you launched your business, you're going to have some surprises if you haven't done so already. The whole essence of starting a business is to solve someone else's problem with the solution that you have because of the expertise you bring to the table, right? And so so what does that look like? And who is that intended audience? In fact, I think that's one of the first questions I'm going to answer. So when we think about target audiences, right, we're thinking about who do you want to serve, right? You get to decide on the audience. Now, that audience should be based on some research. You don't want to just pick things out of thin air. So I can tell you for a fact that everybody is not your customer, right? Yes, you have the capacity. You don't even have the capacity to serve everybody. So that's not even a true enough statement. But so if you aren't going to service everybody, then you can't talk to any and everybody because you don't want anybody as your customer. You do want to have some discretion when it comes to who you want to serve because you don't want to waste your time, right? You don't want to be the person that's sitting there saying, oh my God, I want this person so bad, but they don't want me. Well, it's kind of like relationships. I always end up going back to dating. I don't know why that analogy always pops back in, but it's so relevant, right? If you've ever seen the movie He's Just Not That Into You, then they're just not into you. And there's a reason, right? You don't have what they're looking for at that time, right? And even when it came in my experiences, for instance, I've done a lot of network marketing, right? Multi-level marketing opportunities, right? And a lot of the marketing strategies and the gurus out there, right? No doesn't mean never, right? No just means not right now. And you're not in a position necessarily to try to convince them otherwise, right? That's a waste of time, right? You can just share the information and the opportunity. If it doesn't resonate with them, then that's probably not the person for you right now. So when you think about what you're trying to do and who you're trying to serve, what is that solution and who is that person that is most likely to need your services? So what is that pain point for them? What is getting on their nerves, right? So when I think about in my service selections, one of the things that I try to find out very early in our conversations as a part of my discovery calls is what's the quickest, well, like what's the lowest hanging fruit? What's getting on your nerve? What's getting in your way? And how can we stop that blood from flowing, right? How can we put a tourniquet on it in some cases, right? We might just need to do some triage and get right into that space and stop the and stop the pain. And then as we're doing that, then we're kind of circling around and putting some systems and some structures in place, right? So what is that pain point for your customers? I want you to you guys to think about that. Think about what pain are they going through and how is it that your solution is the one that's going to make that pain go away? And that pain could just be a lack of knowledge in most cases. It could be a lack of comfort in some way. So, what is it that could best help them? So, one of the questions that came up, and look at my notes so I don't make sure I don't leave anything off. One of the questions that came up was just that about knowing who, because I guess people, you hear the term target audience, right? But it doesn't necessarily, it's that terminology that you're using. So that's vocabulary that you want to start to get in your head is just that who do you serve, right? So if the question that you have in the who do you serve, is it I can help anyone? Is that an option? Not really. Um, or maybe some of you are torn, right, between multiple customer personas that you may have in mind, and that's okay, right? Because maybe the type of service that you have can kind of touch on a couple, right? Or are you really in that position where you have narrowed down your focus to one or two well-defined customer personas, or like what we like to call avatars? Right? So that's your audience, right? Your target audience. And then again, the problem. And in this particular case, think about okay, so the question was whether they have, if the problem that they're solving, the problem that they want to solve is big enough of a problem, right? And I'm like, well, you want to think about problems that you want to be able to solve in a couple of ways. You want to base it on whether is it an urgent and an important problem that you're trying to solve. It's important, but it's not necessarily urgent, or it's neither of the two, right? So thinking about the problem that you're solving, I want you to think about it in those terms. That came from Laura, by the way. All right. So Laura, when you're thinking about um, the problem, no problem is too small, right? The issue is whether or not there's enough of a population of people who have a similar problem. So what is the basis of that? Are you basing that on your own experiences that you've already engaged in with your current customers, that they're all coming to you with a very similar set of conditions, right? That's a problem that you're able to say, I can solve that problem. And so that's the whole question, right? Is that it's not so much as whether or not your problem is big enough that it's in order to solidify a business option, but you want to make sure that that business opportunity is going to be enough that you can, if you're only doing it as a side gig, which is fine, and you want to help that particular, what we call a niche with that particular problem, then fine. But you need to decide, is it an urgent and an important, or is it just important but not urgent, or neither of the three? Which one is it? Okay. All righty. And then let's see here. I got, okay. Hey, Gladys. All right. Don't, if you want to, you can post your questions here live. Oh, sorry. Somebody's trying to text me already. All right. So if you have questions as we're going live inside of the community, please feel free to ask them. You can post them inside of the chat. You can, if you're inside of Facebook Live, then you can post it there. I'm also on our YouTube channel, so you're more than happy to do it there as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's one other question is about how do you decide if whether or not your problem is big enough? Well, that's where you have to really kind of go into the research mode, right? Are other people solving that problem right now? If so, what are they doing? And if you find that they have a following, then you're probably on the right track, right? There's certainly a lot of business coaches that are out there. Now, how many of those business coaches that are out there are focused on content marketing strategies to help solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches, right? And small business teams? Not as many, right? So that's where that kind of niching kind of comes into play. Okay. So think about your offer and whether or not, so that's the next, I'm sorry, that's my next question on the offers. Okay. So that's the problem. All right. Okay. Question number 2 has to do with what kind of offers should I or can I position to my clients? Okay. So when you're first starting out, you want to be able to make sure that, I'll put it in 3 different categories. So one option is that you have offers that don't take up your time, right? So those are offers such as maybe an online course, maybe it's assessment, maybe it's an automated tool of some sort, right? Or if it's just a simple product, then of course it didn't really take you any time, but the offer itself isn't taking up much time. So that's one way, right? Because it's kind of static, if you would, or what we call asynchronous in such a way. People just, they get it, they buy it, and they're moving on, right? That's one way of putting together an offer. Another offer is maybe it is more time consuming on your part, right? It's primarily you and your time and your efforts, right? And maybe you can offer discounts, right? Which is going to then increase with volume. Okay, so that's one way of looking at offers. And then maybe you have an opportunity to have an offer that's driven by like maybe packages that can solve multiple problems, right? So if you position things together, that like, so instance, I often do a 5-day challenge. Maybe it's an email campaign coupled with some one-on-one coaching, coupled with, access to a course. I can bundle those together. So what was I able to do? Well, number one, I was able to address the immediate needs that they have, piecemeal that content in such a way that they are able to process it and put it into practice in a short, concise fashion. And then maybe the longer course is something that's going to help them to push them to the next level of readiness, right? So you might be able to have one or more outcomes that are going to be driven and put together in a package. So that's how you can think about offers that you can position to your customers. Okay. All right. So, okay, websites. Now, do you need to have a website for your business? If you don't have one right now, let me put it a different way. Having a web presence for your business, is that important? Yes. Right. Even if you are brick and mortar, even if you're a mobile business, you need to have a web presence. Okay. Then, so that's one. And if you'll notice here, right there, we have websites, right? So that's part of your content marketing pieces. And so how do you think about putting your website, your web presence together? So if you don't have one, you need one. And there's different ways that you go about it. And there's things that you can do on your own. If you need to hire somebody to do it, you want to have somebody to do it. Now, the real issue that you want to make sure is, hey, Sylvia, how are you? One of the things you do want to make sure about is that you have a relevant About Me section in your website. And the reason why that's important is people don't know who you are. And that's exactly why they're going to go to your website. And that's the place I go to, right? So I'm just going to tell you, think about your own behavior, right? Think about, what do I do that when I'm looking for and looking to engage with my clients or my person that I want to connect with, right? So if that's the case, then you more than likely, the people who you're serving behave in a very similar way, right? So when you're thinking about your website, um, one, you do need to have a web presence. It doesn't have to be a full-on site. And some websites can just be one page and it can give everything that you need. Okay. So I'm not going to go through web design today, but certainly having a web presence is important. And one of the valuable pieces of information that you need to have on that web presence is a section about who you are and what you do, because people need to know who you are and what you do and why you do what you do. Right. You want it to also kind of describe how you help people and what problems that they have. Circling back to your target audience, right? It's the same content. So the great thing I love about content marketing is just that. Once you get some core bits of information, it's just how you're dishing it out differently every day and chunking it out. But at the end of the day, you can have this core bit of information that you can keep kind of, I love this term because I always get it from one of my coaches, Chris Robinson. And Chris always talks about rinse and repeat. That's where I want everybody to get to, a point where you can be at that rinse and repeat. Creating core content and bits of information, like your story and who you are and who you help and what you solve, that's core information, right? Then you can chop it up, have a long story, then you can chunk it out a little bit at a time and give that to your audiences in all of these different ways that you have available to you here. Right? So that's something to consider. Gladys, okay. You can post, if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat. If you haven't already given StreamYard availability to do so, then do so. If not, put it inside of the Facebook group and I'll see it there as well. Okay. So yeah, I want to make sure that you have a website. Your website has this me section. It tells people who you are and what you're helping them in that problem you want to solve. And if you can, at most, make sure you have a couple testimonials, at least 3, right? People should have evidence that people have already gone through some experience with you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So what was that? A simple testimony will do. This, tells people, one, that they're real, and that they've had some type of interaction with you and that they were successful, right? And keeping it really simple. I think sometimes we bite off a lot more than we could chew. I was that way at the very beginning, right? I want to help everybody, right? But then you come to realize that if you can give really simple solutions and what I call quick wins, you're going to be so much better for it. Right? People need to have a sense of completion. They need to have a sense of success, right? So if you can chunk your solution into something that's bite-sized, palatable processing, or what we call like micro learning, right? So I do a lot of instructional design. So part of I have 2 businesses, by the way, in case you weren't aware. So I have 2 different businesses. So one of my businesses is a consulting firm. And what we do there is we service K-12. And so in K-12, because that's my background, I'm an educator, an administrator by trade. And so I go out and I help schools. So what is their pain point? Usually I'm working with schools who are low performing schools. They are not academically achieving to their utmost ability, right? They have some struggles. They have some pain points. That's who my customers are. Okay. So we want to be able to go in and build those relationships and start to get quick wins so that all of the stakeholders have some buy-in. It's like, yeah, we can do this. If you give them too much it's like trying to force a fire hose down a tiny spout. It's just going to blow up and it's not going to feel good. And everybody's going to feel bloated. And it's just not good feeling. Okay, so think about some quick wins. So those testimonials can be just about a simple quick win. Doesn't have to be like, she changed my life forever. No, She helped me with the one problem that I was dealing with, or he was dealing with, right? And then another thing that you want to think about with your website, if you don't have one, or want to think about looking at the ones you already have, by the way. So, every now and then I'm in the process of redoing mine, right? Because I'm refining the process. So if you're refining the process, then you get to have that. All right. Let me just make sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry. This is going to be recorded, Sylvia, so no worries. The la, 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 la. Okay. One of the other things you might want to consider, if you don't already have this on your website, is think about, describe your methodology. Like, what's your process, right? What do you do? Even if you're brick and mortar, right? If you are a service-based industry person, like I work a lot with people in the beauty industry, right? So they have protocols, right? And in some cases, they may be medically procedures, right? Micro procedures, right? So you have some procedures and some methodologies, but that methodology is also centered around a practice, right? Some protocols, some production. Like, so what's your methodology, right? So here's my methodology, right? My methodology is, I don't try not to get too technical. It's a framework, right? And for me, what I help with my customers is about, how do you use your content marketing ecosystem to solve the problems and to have the presence for your business, right? So that you can get the traffic that you're looking for, right? So that's my methodology. My methodology is my framework. So what's your methodology for your business solution that you're bringing to your customers? And then you want to make sure too that on your web presence that you have your contact information, if you want to have a form so that it can fill it out, and then links to all of your social media at minimum, right? That's the basic stuff. Okay, that's for your website. Okay, lead magnets. Okay, so there's a question about lead magnets and how does, okay, make sure I read this right. How do I make my lead magnet available to download? Okay, so lead magnets. So a lead magnet is just that. How are you, again, you have your audience and you have your problem that you're solving, right? The lead magnet is that first kind of opportunity to connect with people who are looking for a problem to be solved, and you could be that person, right? So this is that kind of like first introduction, if you would, kind of to lure them in, i.e., magnetize them, right? So if they're being magnetized enough that they was like, oh, that's again, remember, bite size. So what's a useful resource that you can give to your intended audience? Remember, using the language that resonates with them, right? So the other day, so part of like when I'm working on one of the web companies for us called Social Balance, right? So they need a lead magnet that's a quick win and a solve for them, right? So we're putting together a simple report. It could be just on industry components, could be a checklist, but some helpful bit of material that someone can quickly get access to and download to read in exchange for their email address. That's the lead, right? Lead generation, right? Back in the day, people bought people's phone numbers, email addresses, or even mailing addresses, right? When you go to your mailbox every day, like I do, and half of that stuff in there is junk mail, right? Somebody bought a list of names as leads so that they could promote their services. And I tell you, if I get another roofer come to my house, I'm going to scream. So if you're a roofer out there right now, I'm sorry, but I'm so tired of y'all coming to my house. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, so lead magnets. You have different options that you're going to be able to take advantage of. So, but yeah, checklist, tips, maybe even a case study. Again, go back to that testimony. If you feel like you took somebody through your methodology enough that they are what we consider a case study, right? You took somebody from start to finish and you kind of documented it in some way, or you can at least go back and document it. Maybe it's a video. Sometimes we make things too complicated. If you just wanted to do a simple interview with your client and say, I would love to interview you, share your experiences and how I helped you, great. Just like it's like a referral, right? It's like I get letters from my clients, right? I'll call them. It's like, hey, I'm working with trying to get with another school district. I would love a referral letter from you saying how, the project that we just completed. If you could just give, a thumbs up or just give some insights that I can put you down as a referral. Same thing. It's a case study, right? I came in, we worked together, we put these things into practice, and we're better for it. Okay. So if you don't have a lead magnet right now for your business, then let me know in the chat and then we can make that happen. It's not a hard thing to do. And in fact, there's some really fun ways too that you can do lead magnets. I'm getting ready to put a quiz back. I had one quiz up there, but I'm changing it a little bit. But I'm putting together an assessment, right? Because in my assessment quiz, it's just that people love quizzes. They like to say like, oh, let me take this test. Although we hate to test it in school for some strange reason. But again, it's all about ourselves, right? So how does this system think I do or who I am, right? So you can put together a simple questionnaire and give them the feedback, right? That's a lead magnet too. So there's quite a few different ways. Or it could just be a simple checklist. Some people just like to know, what should I be doing right now? What are some things that I may not be checking, I might not be doing right or well, right? Simple checklist. So do you have a lead magnet? Yes or no? Okay. This is a really good question. How long should discovery calls be? Or yes, discovery calls. I think a lot of and I've kind of been tossing myself back and forth on this, because a discovery call is again another kind. It comes usually from a lead magnet too. But if you're inviting people, because the service that you are providing them is centered around where they are and whether or not you can truly, you may be able to do that in a questionnaire, but sometimes you just need that personal connection, right? Because you can't do everything text. So I love discovery calls. Mine's are called simplicity calls, but same thing. Give it a name, just call it discovery, doesn't matter. But the question is, how long should one be? On average, a discovery or a strategy call should be between 30 minutes, no more than 60 minutes, right? Because what you're doing is it's a session where you're offering your prospective customers to discuss the problem that they have. And it's going to give something of value, right, to them at the same time. So it also lets you determine if your solution is a good fit for them, right? Because everybody's not going. Remember, everybody's not your customer. So whether or not, so you need to decide: is a discovery call something I should do? Yes or no? Then, do you want to do it as a complimentary discovery call or not? I actually am scaling back my discovery calls. My discovery calls are going to be scaled back where it's just that simple. And then I'm taking them through a ladder, right? Of free enough to, wet the whistle and figure it out. And then if you want to know how I can help you and put together a simple strategy for you, that's a different call. And yeah, you're going to pay me for that. You want to, in that discovery call and in your description, you want to outline what are the inputs and what are some of the expected outcomes from that discovery call, so people understand what they're getting into. I actually have questions. Let me see if I can let me put my discovery call link there. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm going to be updating it, but Here's mine. We'll put it here in the chat. Okay. So that's an example of one, right? Where you're going in and you're saying, okay, book a call with me, right? You set up in your tools of choice. By the way, oh, let me do this. I find, oh, changed on me. Okay. Oh, I'm not logged in. That's crazy. Why ain't I logged in? Hold on a second. Okay. Oh, I got booted out. Okay, give me 1 second. So there's a great tool. So I'm going to go ahead and put that out there for you guys. I know a lot of us are using Candly because it's free, right? Remember, free is relevant, right? So you want to make sure that the resources that you're getting are useful ones. And in most cases, what happens is they're holding back on some of the key features and functions of the platform itself, which, I can't stand that stuff. I want everything because that's who I am. I want it to work for me. I want to have all the bells and whistles, right? And so if that's what you're using right now, I'm going to highly suggest that you consider this investment. Let me just make sure I put it together for you just right, because I am the app queen. There we go. There we go. All right. So here it is. For $30, it's well worth it. Okay. It's called Tidy Cow. And what Tidy Cow is just like Canly, but just as good, or if not better. And so you pay one time, it's yours for life, and no monthly fees, none of that stuff, right? You simply get all of the bells and the whistles. In fact, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Let me see if it's going to let me. Okay, let me do this real quick. I'll show you. You will get, let's do a quick share screen. Tidy Cow. There we go. So here, since we were talking about discovery calls, so I went down this little rabbit hole for a quick minute. So here is my Tidy Cow. So it looks just like Calendly, right? I think it's better. I just think, number one, you don't have, so those of you who have the free version, yeah, you're getting free, but you don't have the capacity to do certain things unless you pay for the paid version. And if you get the paid version, then you have to pay a monthly fee and subscribe. I hate subscriptions, right? For certain things I do. I shouldn't say that because I sell subscriptions, but needless to say, but for $30, you can get everything for one price, one-time cost. And to me, it's worth it. So, all right. So here you put your different sessions in. So this is my discovery call right here. When you're booking, right, you're going to book and you're going to answer some key questions, right? You get to decide the days and the times you want to be available, and it's going to synchronize with your Google Calendar if that's what you have. Okay, which you always want to make sure you're doing. But you're going to answer some key questions so that I'm ready to service you. So again, Tidy Cow, really cool tool, great invention. If you haven't, click the link there below and you can do that. And I'll put it in I think it's already in the thing too. Let me see, did it come through? Okay. I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the Facebook group as well. Okay. There we go. All right. So discovery calls are just for that purpose. They are to help you um, make a personal connection with your intended audience and then decide whether or not it's something you want to be able to commit to doing moving forward. Okay. All right. That's that. Um, and then one of the things, once you do have it set up, you want to be able in that discovery call to advertise it. Put the link on your website, put it at the end of your emails. People can put it on your social media and your channels, right? People need to know that that's a way that they can connect with you. In fact, lead discovery calls are a form of a lead magnet, right? And then even, or it's an opportunity. It's always my call to action, right? CTA, call to action. You always want people to take action. Well, they can take action just by simply setting aside time to connect. So when a person says that they want to meet with you and they truly do, and you're just like, well, here's my calendar, pick a time that works for you and it'll work for me. And that's what you do. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So that's that. All right. Another question. Let's go back here. So that was on discovery calls. Okay. So sales. Okay. So the question is, how do I create a sales process to close the deal? Okay. So what I would say for you is when you're pursuing a sales, right, for any business, following it's great that you may have made that first connection with them, but the most important thing, as the adage goes, the fortune is in the follow-up, right? So what is a process do you have for following up with people? Um, I have a couple of different ways. You want to make sure though that it's going to be a routine that you want to kind of have together, right? It could be to sign up that client. It could be to add additional services to an existing one if you already have it. Remember, follow up is just not with prospects. Follow up is also with your current customers. What could you be doing and offering them to bring them back in the door? Right? Because for instance, for those of you who are doing service-based businesses like in your brick and mortars, right? How many of your customers are return customers? If you look at your data, right? Always talking about your data, right? What percentage of your customers are repeat customers, right? And then what's that time lag between the first time that they came and the time that they come back? One of the systems that I put in place with some local businesses is called Simply Joy. And it's about, again, the offer, right? How are you offering people before they leave you, particularly for your first time offer people, right? When they're coming in, what are you doing to make sure that they have a reason to come back other than the fact that, of course, they had a great experience with you, right? If it's that great, they should want to be able to come back again. What does that look like, right? So either do you have a follow-up strategy? And if it's kind of ad hoc and it's irregular, then that's where you are right now, right? You don't have a proper follow-up strategy in place. That's something that you could be working on. Or you kind of follow up pretty often, but it's kind of generic. Maybe the emails are generic, right? There's not enough personalization, enough personalization in that process. So maybe that's where you need to do a fix. Or do you have some relevant material that you could use for your follow-up? That you can point people to. So for instance, I'll stick with the beauty industry. So maybe they left, maybe they had a great facial with you, right? What are you sending them after they've left you? Other than thanks for coming, respond, on the receipt. Like what else are you offering them? So maybe you can follow up with some relevant material again in your content, right? You could send them to your website for a blog. Right there, right? This is why, again, content is relevant. So you can say, check out my latest blog on XYZ, or here's a industry article that I just read, right? Things that are relevant to that client's needs and their goals, right? So that could be part of your formula. Or again, a series of emails, or it could be a brochure, a follow-up, or something, anything. Give them something to look at and say that you're adding value after the sale. And another option is, following up with relevant actions, right, and advice to help that client to progress if they're having a problem, right? So sticking with the skincare, right? So for instance, okay, they had a really nice facial. So what is some things that they should be doing between now and the next time that they come to you, depending on the routine? Remember, you want to give them that added value. You want them to come back to you. You don't want it to be a one-time deal. So what is that? Okay, another question. How can I get interactivity on my website? Interactivity. Okay. Remember I was talking about a little earlier about quizzes and those type of assessments that you could do? You could do something like that on your website, right? Because that's interactive. That's somebody doing something. You might have even install this yourself. They're not hard to put on your website. You can buy them as plugins. You can do it as a third-party app as well. But that's certainly a way. That's that lead magnet I was telling you about. And again, you're providing some level of valuable data that you can kind of like personalize, and that way it's a way for you to do a follow-up by giving them their results, right? Something that we're putting on our website is our Wheel of Life tool, right? And we're going to make that interactive. Typically, I do it manually in our as I'm doing my onboarding with my clients, but certainly now we are finding that I can just put that out there as a lead magnet, and then people can say, like, "Oh, as a result of that assessment, you scored yourself really low in these areas." And I have two different ones, one for business and one for life. And we try to build them together because that's what life is, right? Balance, or harmony, I like to call it. So yeah, that will be one way that you could use a quiz or an assessment and make that the interactivity on your site. What's another thing? That's the first thing that kind of comes to my mind. Okay. Okay, so growing an account. What's the best strategy for growing an account? Well, I guess a lot of that really just depends. I go back to the methodology. And also, how big was their problem, and how do you want to be able to remember those quick wins? So when you think about your methodology, what are going to be some of those quick wins that are going to help people? And you want to be able to gradually build them out so that they're seeing the results that they want to see for themselves personally, or they want, or something for them, maybe it's for their business. It's if you're helping them with a component of their business, right? So like one of my colleagues, Lou, right, my video coach, he has I'm trying to think. Okay, he has that 31-day challenge. If you haven't had a chance to go through that, I'll put that link in there too, right? But part of what has come out of that is that people need to understand the tools that are out there to help with that video content, right? There's different ways to skin that cat. There's 31 different ways that you can do a video, right? Have a video presence, right? And then he's niching down into one particular one that's very useful and can help you, right? So thinking about how can you grow your client, right? Can you periodically, like in this case, like again, before and after. Before, I did nothing. I had no video content, I had no video presence, right? And then the after comparison, right? That demonstrates the value that you were able to deliver, right? So, baseline and that self assessment too could be part of that account growth, because you want to be able to say, okay, you started here. We're going to put some goals and practices into place, and we're going to move you from this level to this level. That's an account growth, right? So if you don't have a way to measure how you are impacting your customers, then that's something that you might want to really think about doing. And I feel like an assessment tool is a great vehicle because it's a visual and it also helps you to lead the conversation. Now, I do that through coaching, but depending on what your service is and what you're trying to do, it could certainly be a way of managing it, right? So think about tools or ways and methods that you're going to be able to help to grow your customers and having them to come back. Okay, exposure. So what are ways that you can share your business options that are not social media? Okay, so yeah, there's still good resources out there. Everything is not always about social media all the time. I tell people that you definitely want to be growing your list. You also want to think about being able to get some exposure through your presence, maybe as a podcast guest, right? I think guest podcasting is a very powerful way of getting in front of other people's audiences. So we're looking at how can that help be a strategy for you, right? You don't have to create podcasts. So I want to make sure everybody's not meant to be a podcaster. Although there are some people inside of this group, because of the following that they have, I think would make a wonderful blogger, right? And you're getting in that, and you're having that presence, right? And you have the content that you can add value to. So think about that. Okay. And okay. Okay, another question. Okay, emailing. What's the difference between sending out blast emails versus a drip? Okay, a drip and a blast. All right, so a blast email is just that. It's something that is standalone. It doesn't have anything to follow, right? It's just something I send out on a routine basis. Like many of you get my newsletter. That's a blast, right? Because it's not like it's something I'm giving bits of information to in some order, right? It's simply a newsletter of information. It stands alone by itself. That's a blast. Whereas a drip is a series of emails that you're offering to people so that you can stay top of mind with your intended clients, both existing clients and prospect one. So this is kind of where email automation has power. So if people tell you like email marketing is dead, they are lying to you, and they're just telling you that because they don't want you doing it because they're doing it. Okay? Yeah. So email marketing is still a powerful tool. The reason for that is when you're thinking about, remember I talked about process and little bits of information so people can process and join, right? It takes people time to, again, know who you are and what you do. So even, for instance, when you talked about that assessment, right? So I'm trying to make sure we're connecting things together. That lead magnet, right, is an assessment, and they're going to download it, right? That lead magnet, by the way, is going to fall under creative visuals, okay? So you create that lead magnet, maybe it's a quiz, right? And they download it. Well, They gave you an email address. Well, what are you going to do with that email address? You're going to email them. So if you're going to email them, make it purposeful, not just a thank you. But the whole point of that magnet is to take them through a series of events. What is that? Okay, so in fact, let me see. So the whole point of email sequencing is just that. It's so that you're going to have these predefined emails that are going to be sent to those who downloaded something or took a quiz, right? Typically, a series of emails, usually it's about 5 or more, depending on what you're trying to do, right? And you're going to put that inside of your email automation system. And you get that set up. So let me do something. Let's see if I can do something here. Okay. I don't want that pen. Hold me 1 second. Nope, I don't want that one. There we go. Okay. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Oh, I got more. Here we go. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, great. So when we think about email automation, email sequencing, I want you to, where's my little, do I have my pen? I don't have it now. Okay, let's just use my fingers. Okay. So I want you to think about emails just that it's a series, right? So the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to download, right? Ugh, that's not really good. Hold on. I need my pen. Hold on 1 second. Stick my digital pen. Oh. Nope, that's not going to work either. Where's my little pen? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. If we're gonna do it, if you're gonna do it right. All right. So let's see if I can turn it on. There we go. Much better. Okay. There we go. All right. So when you're thinking about doing an email sequence, right? This is the fact that there's that lead magnet, right? And they're going to do a download of your email, right? So the question then becomes, what happens? Well, you certainly want to make, you want to confirm. And this is also going to be your thank you, right? That they got it. And then the whole point is, what was the purpose of leading them? Where are you leading them to, right? If your ultimate goal is for them to buy that course or to attend an event, right? Then the next set of emails is to connect with them and convince them that what they need to do next, now that they have that lead magnet. So you want to also be able to tap into that lead magnet, reference it from time to time. You want to make sure too, this is the thing that I learned. You want to make sure that that they're actually using the lead magnet, whatever it is, a bit of information, right? So let's stick with the skincare as an example, right? So that person left, you said thank you, right? So in this particular case, that lead magnet was essentially the fact that they came. So it's more of a follow-up one, but the same thing applies. So you want to be able to, maybe they get that you gave them a follow-up brochure, right? things they need to do in the next 7 days, what they need to do, right? So your follow-up email should be on those 7 days to do, right? And it could be just that simple. Give them 7 days of reminders of things to do. Because yes, you did give them that brochure. You might have given them a flyer. You think they're going to hold on to that every day? No, they're not. You hope that they would. And even if they did, you want to create this habit for them that they're looking at that lead magnet, that handout, that brochure to the very end. And so your email sequence, your drip, is just that. Adding value and having them to do what they need to be doing with the information that you're providing, and that they're processing it. You're creating a routine, maybe it's a set of habits, right? Whatever that is. So then it could be just as simple as you're going to send 7 emails, right, on those 7 to-dos. It could be just that simple. So think about it. Put it in the context of your own self. And then as you're telling them about those 7 steps, you're interjecting that subliminal messaging about what else you do. Well, what's the else, right? The also section of your email, right? What is either a common next step, what they should be thinking about doing next, right? So maybe they came in for a basic facial, but maybe given some of the conditions and the things that you noticed, you may say, in this just, again, remember the other thing about drip email is needs to be a generic enough. It's not that customized that you have to do it for every customer. It's for all of your customers who engage in that particular lead magnet or in that particular service that you have. So you may have to create different email sequences for these different sets of conditions. That's what it's all about. So you're going to do this the to-dos, right? So this is going to be at least a 7 email sequence. That's fine. But in your case, you already know. So it's not like you have to come up with stuff. You already know. You already had it in your brochure. Repurpose the brochure and create 7 emails. Ta-da. Remember, content, rinse, repeat. You already have it. Chunk it down. And now put it in an email sequence. It's just that simple. Okay, so and then what you want to do is that by the time you get to the 2nd or 3rd email, now you can start adding other things about, here's a story about Jennifer. Jennifer did something, she took this service and she bought this package, or she's a member of this. You start to do the also section because you're going to start to want to drop seeds to them. That's the whole point of an email, a follow-up, right? Fortune's in the follow-up. So that in this case, there's always going to be a CTA, call to action, right? So in this particular case, it could simply be come back for another one, or book and get the also. And you want to incentivize them, right? You want to be able to say, well, if you book in the next 7 days or 3 days, you're going to get a bonus or some type of a discount savings, right? Using a coupon code, or just simply call and say, they'll respond. And the great thing is in your email, you get to track all these things, right? Well, did Barbara click on that link or not? I don't know. The data will tell you though. So that's something that you want to think about. So email sequencing can be just that powerful and just that simple. Go from a lead magnet so that they're going to take the action. They're going to book. They're going to save, or maybe even a referral. And give, again, what's the incentive? It's just that simple. Okay. All right. So we're done with that. Hopefully that made sense. All righty. So that was that question. Another one. Oh, hold on a second. I think I've got. What time is hold on, you guys. Okay. I want to make sure I didn't go over. All right. So let's see. So that was, okay. What's my other questions? That was about email sequencing. Should I write a blog or difference between a blogging or newsletters? Do you have to do both? I guess that's the real question. And the answer to that is it depends. I do both, but here's the thing. It's about the frequency, right? Blogging doesn't have to be every day. Blogging has a different set of purpose than a newsletter, right? A newsletter is really to help you, stay in touch, right, on recent happenings and things that's going on, right? Blogging is about, again, still adding value, um, and putting out content that search engines are going to find, so that when people remember your topics, remember you're the expert in, right? That's what blogging is a good part about. If you don't have a blog, and you don't have a lot of blogs, but either you're going to put this what we call evergreen content, right, which is what blogging allows you to do, then you can circle back and keep adding to it a little bit and enhancing it. You don't have to do something every day, every week. You could be a monthly blog that you post that's relevant to what's going on in your industry and who you are and what you do. And if you don't like writing blogs, get somebody to do it for you. It's just that simple. Newsletters are a little bit more personal. Again, up to date, recent happenings, relevant tips too, right? Again, both of them. And then here's the nice thing. If you write a blog, you can talk about it in your newsletter. Just that simple. But it's just other ways for you to be top of mind to your current customers, because you got to stay connected with your current customers as much as you're trying to get new customers, right? Or convert them. Okay. So if you don't have any content and you're not sending out a blog content and you're not sending out a newsletter, I need you to say it. See, that's not something I'm doing right now, but maybe that's a goal, and that's okay. So is blogging in your routine right now? Yes or no? Share in the comments. Do you put out a newsletter right now? Maybe you didn't think about it, but if you have a following already and you have people's email addresses, then you should be sending them something. Because here's the thing, if you don't and you send it out too erratically, it's going to fall inside of their spam folders. And what's the point in doing that? You did all that work for it to sit in somebody's junk pile. No, you don't want that. So you have to come up with a regular routine. I can certainly help you to formulate that if that's what you want. So again, schedule a call and let's talk about that. But if you're doing it sometimes I send a newsletter, sometimes I don't, but it's not very regular. But you want it to be, right? That's okay. But if you're sending out routinely and you're blogging routine, like at least once a week or once a month, you will have a routine, then you're good. Then the question is, what's the quality of the content that you really need to think about? Okay. Calendar. Okay. So do I have, okay. So content calendaring. Okay. So yeah, you need a process. And I go back to some time ago, we talked about promotional calendars, right? You need to think ahead, all right? You shouldn't be doing things ad hoc and off the hip. If you're doing these things that we just talked about, all the things that we've been talking about, if you're doing these things off the hip, it's not good for you, and it's certainly not good for your prospects. You need to have routines, right? So when it comes to your content, it's around your website, it's your blogging, it's your email, it's your podcasting, it's your social media. What does all of that look like, and how do you perform all of that? And I think that's where people get really caught up. Number one, you don't have to do all of this. Pick one and get really good at it. Then you can add on the rest where it makes sense, right? So whatever that is, it's simply a list of for you to think about, okay, well, what content do I want to talk about? What content do I want to have on my website? Do I want to talk about in my newsletter? Do I want to blog about or put in my social media, right? That's going to be helpful for your customers, your clients, and your future prospects, right? And then when do you want to put that out there and write about it and share it? right? So that's all the calendar is. Your content calendar should be something that you map out ahead of time. Okay. I don't have mine to share, but certainly it's something that you want to do, right? If you don't have one and you don't even have written down what you want to do, okay, we are in, what is it, May the 25th? It is May the 25th. If you don't know what your June, July, and August content is going to look like, you need to schedule time with me because we need to at least get that nailed down in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Because I operate from the mode of if it's not written, it's not going to get done. Let's not fool ourselves, people. We know, you know who you are and what you are able to do. You know the routines, right? So all I can tell you is to benefit you. And your content calendar, it doesn't have to be like a separate document. You got a Google calendar. All y'all got Google or Hotmail or something. You all got a calendar. Okay. So it's just about scheduling the time to get it done and scheduling the time to get it published. That's it. And then deciding whether or not it's something you're going to do, you're going to give it to somebody else. Just that simple. So even if you wanted, based on today's conversations, right, and the questions that came out, if your goal is to get your lead magnet or that assessment, creating it, and then putting the web part together, blogging about that assessment, emailing people about that assessment, social media about that assessment, and then being a guest on a podcast, sharing about that assessment, voila, that's your calendar. How, who, what, when, why, how are you going to get all that done? Just stay focused and create something just that simple. So then maybe that's your takeaway for today. Okay, let's see. Personal. Okay. So, okay, this is not so much a question, but I guess it's more of a question like, how do I personally connect with my people? So I can tell you that I spend time at least once a week because I have two different businesses, right? So I'm always following up with my current customers and making sure that they're good. Just saying, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Right? It's a simple call, even if it could be as simple as a text, right? Something personal to your prospective customers. Because I have people like who they may have come to my discovery call and they had good intentions, right? Of wanting to start, and then I don't hear from them again. And that's okay. Everybody's, do your thing, right? Because I'm gonna keep doing my thing. So, but every now and again, I'm gonna circle back with like, hey, how are things going? You said you needed this, or you were working and doing this. How's that doing for you? If you need any help, always know I'm here, right? That's personalized outreach, right? You want to come up with something. You want to be able to connect with people, right? So what's that follow-up going to be for you? A simple call, simple text, even a personalized direct email. Not something that you do inside of your email automation system, but just from your personal email account. Okay? Okay. Posting social posts. What channels should I be what channels social media posts? Okay. So what social media channels should I be posting to every day? Well, again, it depends. Every social media platform is not it's not where all your customers are. So I go back to your target audience. Who are they? And part of your research is, where do they hang out? Many of you, depending on your industry, right? Instagram might be a great one. Whereas others of you, LinkedIn is going to be better for you. Twitter might be better for you, or a combination. So posting to the right social platform is important to gain your visibility, right? So I go back to the same thing. Do you have a social? Are you posting regularly? And narrowing down your social media channels to those that are relevant. You don't have to do them to everybody. It's just wasteful. If you only need Instagram and that's the only one you need, then do that one. Or just do LinkedIn or just do Twitter. Just do Facebook. It doesn't matter. But whittle it down, right? Then how are you routinely posting so that the algorithms are changing all the time. I'm not going to get into that, but just know that if you're routine, then the system will put your content in front of other people without you even asking. That's the other nice thing. So that's why having something routine is that you benefit from that. Okay. Let's see. You need to once you've gotten to the routine part of posting routinely, then you might think about sharing your content inside of the platform. Sorry about that. So routine posting is essential. Okay. And then you can go back again. I go back to how things circulate. So you can post about that lead magnet, post about that blog, right? And then even send them a link to go to the lead magnet, right? So they can get that free downloadable, right? Or to that quiz. It all full circle. Hello, content marketing ecosystem. They all interconnect once you get started. The whole point is how you get started. All right. Let's see. Other tactics. All right. So outside of the content solutions, maybe, are there any other tactics that you use? Yeah. I mean, certainly, I do webinars. I be a part of other people's webinars. I do local networking, right? I have a Wednesday morning networking group. I get up 7:30 Wednesday mornings and I'm logging in and I'm online and I'm networking with other business owners, right? And it's for referrals and promoting each other and helping each other, lifting each other up, right? So you can engage in a variety of ways that's going to be helpful for you to get your business known and get other people to talk about your business. That's the real power of word of mouth marketing. Get other people to promote who you are, what you do. Speaking engagements, I do from time to time. I'm probably doing a little bit more now that things are back to a sense of normalcy. I'm creating video content and I'm sharing that on a routine basis. I'm looking to get better at TikTok at some point, but just video content right now. And that's kind of where Lou kind of comes into play. So if you haven't signed up for Lou's 31 flavors, I'm going to repost that link for you so that you do. Getting back into doing guest podcasting, again, is another way to get in front of those relevant audiences. You might even want to think about doing your own podcast. It all depends. This is what I do though. I have a podcast and simply for right now, I just take the audio contents of the things that I produce in my videos and I'm posting it there as a way, but I'm hoping to get to a place where I can my format will be a little bit different, but I haven't gotten there yet because it's a matter of time and commitment. And so I don't like to start things I'm not able to do, but I'll be a guest on a podcast any day of the week, right? So how do you promote yourself to do that? So I think those are the questions. I don't think I have any more. Okay, we're good. So that was a lot, actually. I hope that was helpful for you guys. And if you have any other questions, feel free to post. We're going to, so here's the thing. I'm getting ready to do a some people were asking about social media and about what's that on my screen? Okay. If you're challenged with social media and posting on a routine basis, I have a little offer for you. So I'm going to put it here in the chat, and I'm going to put it on this. I think I can put it on the screen. But simply just text me, right? So here's my email address, right, Dr. Yam. I don't have anything formal yet but we're going to be hosting. So we're launching Social Balance. We're doing an update on Social Balance. So one of the cool offers that we're putting together is kind of like, I want to call it like, we'll be your virtual assistant and get you some social media content on a routine basis for you. Remember, everything is about the algorithm, right? So if you don't have the time to do the bare minimum, we're going to cover that for you. So what does that mean? So you're going to get a daily post every day that's going to be like inspirational, has a quote, and then you're going to get what we call a weekend engagement, right? It's just puzzles that we'll post each Saturday for you. But here's again that whole routine about being consistent and having a social post that's coming out on a routine basis that's getting the attraction to your audience. That's not to say that you can't do your own, but if you just want to get something that's solid quality and content that you can get out on a very routine basis every day, in addition to that, you're also getting an industry post, right? So we get to customize it a bit for you. So we do that by putting external content, industry content from you going to your social posts, right? And it also comes with a call to action to you. So you get to check it out. You get to use somebody else's content to drive traffic to you, right? Every day. So that's 2 social posts that you get every day for $100 a month. That's it. So we're going to be releasing the promo on the 1st of June, but I'm giving everybody inside of the community access. And if you sign up before June the 1st, you're going to get it extra. So you just need to let me know. So if you listen to the very end, as always is the case, that's our promotion. So the promotion is you get 2 social media posts. And also, by the way, your post will have your logo watermarked. We will watermark so it looks custom, right? Branded for your site. So if you have your logo, you just have to share your logo with us, and we will customize the post, and you're good to go. And so there, in that case, it's kind of like set it and forget it. So for $100, that's what you get. And then if you tell your friends and family, we're getting ready to do our affiliate program. Hopefully we'll also be launching at the same time. We've been trying to make sure the technology is working to do that. So just know that if you want to make a little cha-ching, you get to promote that offer to other people after June 1st, and you too can benefit from that as well. But it's just our simple set it and forget it offer, if you would. And it's just a simple $99 a month, and we will take care of you and automatically post. And you get to put it to as many social media platforms as you like. So if you want to do 3, fine. If you got 5, fine. And we'll send them all out to any of them and get you all going. So that is the offer as a result of you connecting with me today. And so another office hour, our first in the line of many. So great questions, everyone. I hope I answered them all for you. You'll be able to listen to this as well as watch this in the feed for a little while. We'll post, and then we'll snag it and put it inside of the YouTube channel as well. So you'll have access to it. So until next time, this is Dr. Yam. I am your Keep It Simple coach. Don't forget to put your comments and your further questions down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. And until next time, you guys have a great day. Let's get busy. Bye-bye.